So we're going to go ahead and get started, and we may be joined by a few more folks, but I want to welcome you all to the Paideia Program's information session. And we are joined by 4 excellent fellows who represent each of the 4 undergraduate schools. And we're going to open by each of them going through and talking about their experience as fellows. And then we'll transition to me, and I'll just tell you a few more things. My name is Dr. Howard, and I'm the Student Advising and Wellness Director. So let's just get started. We have a slide for you all in the flesh, and then their pictures. But let's get started. Hannah, would you mind starting?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm a junior in the college, majoring in cognitive science and minoring in design. I was thinking about what I wanted to say, and I think being in the college and in Paideia has been really gratifying and also helpful, because I think for me, I was pretty undecided what I wanted to major in to like coming into Penn, and being a part of like my own, like your own cohort and talking to different people about the different majors they're pursuing really helps you, I feel like, get a better idea of like what you might be interested in. So there's like that element of community that I feel like it definitely provides. My personal favorite part about Paideia has been definitely the Paideia courses. Those are phenomenal. You are like required to take 2, I think. Yeah, 3, sorry. But I think I'm on my 3rd one this semester, and every single one of them has been like one of my favorite courses at Penn by far. I took Grit Lab by Angela Duckworth, which was phenomenal. And I ended up like TAing for that class. So there's different ways that I feel like the program does impact your life at Penn, which you may not really realize when you're a freshman, but definitely over time you'll see in a way that it does like accumulate and definitely have like a pretty strong hold over, I guess, like your trajectory and like give you structure in 4 years, which is nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm Andrew. I'm a C student, so in the engineering school, I studied bioengineering. So, it seems kind of like weird, like why an engineering student is in Paideia, but like for me, I'm really like into like ethics and kind of like philosophy, and how like there's a lot of stuff in bioengineering and the research side of things that like has to do with like animal studies or whatnot. That has to do with like complicated stuff that you have to talk with other people about, and then it's kind of like there's this barrier where it's hard to talk with people about, and that extends to also social issues too, that I'm really interested in kind of promoting this kind of dialogue, right? That I think it's not only my interest, but also kind of my responsibility to like, I want to help improve like the world, right? But like there's social issues that won't just solve itself, right? So we have to talk. There's no like real answer to it, right? So so in high school I attended ethics school, so it's really like that sort of thing, and in Paideia what I really enjoy about is the community, right? So like everyone in Paideia in the cohort, like we all really strive forward. That's our like passion to like that dialogue and stuff, and really enjoy talking with my friends about these different issues.
Thank you, Andrew.
Hi, I'm Maeve. I'm a junior and I'm in the School of Nursing. So I originally applied to Paideia in like COVID times in our first semester, and my interests in nursing are primarily in like women's sexual and reproductive health, but I've always had this other side of me that was interested in like political science, and so it's not something you're really able to explore as a nursing major. It's a really structured set of plan of study, and so I knew that I wasn't going to get to kind of explore that side of like an interest that I had, and so Paideia is really fantastic where it lets you explore like exactly what you want to in terms of your discipline. So I've done a lot of research and work on like the more political issues that are tied to women's sexual and reproductive health. So kind of exploring like Black maternal morbidity and mortality in our first pro seminar, and now the junior fellows are starting to work on our capstone projects, which is one of the big things that like Paideia helps you create at the end of your time. And I'm working with Planned Parenthood to kind of do a little bit of like research in this post-Roe era, how people are being affected in terms of seeking care at these Planned Parenthoods across the country. So I'm in talks with Planned Parenthood right now to kind of work on a survey for my senior year as my capstone about that. But I think Paideia just really ties in super well with nursing because we learn in nursing school that there's so many different avenues that you can go about in nursing, and Paideia really helps you realize how many of those avenues there are and the different ways that you can be a nurse leader, but also if you wanted to focus on political issues, Paideia lets you explore that as well. And I don't think that you can talk about nursing without talking about citizenship, service, dialogue, wellness, and so it just ties in so well to the nursing program as a whole. And I've taken some phenomenal courses, like Hannah said. I took a mindfulness and human development course right in the pandemic, and that was super nice and a nice break to have as well. And then I'm currently in a nursing and design course about different public health issues and kind of designing solutions to help meet people where they are in terms of care. And so it's obviously just a class I just started this week, but I'm really excited about that. Yeah, I think Paideia has done a fantastic job helping me because the nursing school is super structured and it can be difficult to fit classes and extra credits into things. But that's what I love about Paideia is the program is phenomenal and everyone works with you to help you achieve what you want to get out of the program.
Great. So I think, hi, my name is Elizabeth. I'm a junior in Wharton studying business economics and public policy with a minor in history and legal studies. And I think for me, part of the reason I joined Paideia is I feel like Wharton, don't get me wrong, I've absolutely loved my experience, but there's this kind of tendency to end up siloed in terms of whatever school you're in and in terms of whatever your curriculum is. And for me, joining Paideia was a way to break out of the pre-professional and more structured curriculum that Wharton had to potentially explore other interests in other interdisciplinary fields. And I think this happened through Paideia for 2 ways. For me, the first was the courses. I've taken absolutely phenomenal courses in Paideia, and there were 2 specifically that created entirely new interests for me that I never really knew I had. The first was an interest in civic dialogue and civic engagement, specifically dialogue across difference in communities and especially on college campuses. So I ended up through that joining an organization that looks to try to bridge conversations among different groups on college campuses, really trying to further that. And then the second course was a health capability class, which was absolutely phenomenal and which focused on the role of not just the biomedical model of health and not just social determinants of health, but looking at health as this comprehensive thing. And that developed this whole new interest for me in health policy, which now I'm trying to RA for the professor that taught that class. So for me, it was this kind of creation of all these new interests that I never knew I had. And the second thing I really loved about Paideia has been just meeting different fellows. I think that I met a lot of people that I really would have never met outside of the program, and it provides this space to not just meet these people, but also talk about what your passions are and what your interests are in ways that are really different from mine. And I think I've been really grateful for how they've expanded my worldview and inspired me to do different and exciting things.
Well, thank you each so much, and we will return to them for the answers to your really wonderful questions. But literally, I'm going to be showing you slides that basically reference everything they said so well, and we didn't share scripts, so this is excellent. Let me show you really quickly a little bit about the Paideia program. So, actually, we'll skip to the next one. So, why should you be a Paideia Fellow? And so here are just some of the things, but I think you heard implicitly many other reasons in what our 4 fellows here shared. I really appreciate all that you shared. But we really are teaching you, hopefully, how to use dialogue as a tool for social change, how to dig deep. I mean, everyone knows how to talk, right? You learn when you're very little. But we are leaning into this idea of dialogue. And a lot of times it means listening and learning how to listen. And so we do all sorts of exercises around listening. And then how do we talk across difference? Sometimes that means disciplinary difference or differences in school. And you've heard a bunch of different schools here. But how do we do that? We also think about individual and community well-being. So in a lot of groups here at Penn, we are so fortunate to be in a place where people care about wellness, but from many different angles. Our view on wellness is we see individual and community wellness as connected. So what is the health of our community and what is the health of our individuality and how are they connected? For example, when you read a news story that might affect your individual health, you might get really sad based on something you read about the world. Welcome, please find a seat. And you can see that interplay between, and conversely, you may do something in a community and see something really beautiful that it affects how you then feel about the world or how you imagine justice to be. It changes it. So how are these things connected? And then we want to build belonging. So we want to build deep belonging and wide. So you've heard many of the fellows shared about how much they appreciate their cohort. So you're in a cohort of 25 other fellows who are in different schools. Many times you don't get to take classes with people from all 4 undergraduate schools. You do in the fellows programs. You get to hear, what does that mean for an engineer, for a nurse, for a wardenate, for someone in the college? What does dialogue look like for you? What are your classes like? So different than mine. You know, you get to have that conversation. And then wide, we actually know that was the wide. And the deep, no, actually, we just ignore that slide. But you get to connect in many ways, both deep and wide. You also get to access funding. So each year of your fellowship, you'll get to apply for funding to do a different kind of research. We have something called the Dialogue Fund, and you can apply for research to do many different things. Some folks use it for travel money to go somewhere to do something specific. Like I think Maeve already referenced her project where she's going to go to different Planned Parenthoods in the United States. Some folks have gone to different countries. We just had a fellow travel to Tokyo to study LGBTQ rights in Tokyo versus some rights as they're expressed in the United States and do a comparative study. He's a wardenate. So travel, some folks use funding to help their service. Maybe they're doing a part of a club that needs to do some service work. So there's all different ways to interpret the funding. And then we want you to cultivate and use your voice. So you have an opportunity to write for our blog. You have an opportunity to engage in leadership roles. We're connected with our partner organizations, our Netter, Civic House, PORS, Fox Leadership, Wellness at Penn. We're connected to the SEC. P1P. These are our partners, so we work interchangeably with these groups, and if they're doing something and they need student leaders, we work together with them. So there's many different ways. Sometimes we deploy you. We're here in College Hall with the provost to do things. Oh, and there's a fun picture, just for you all. And look, I'm in it, and I'm doing this for all time. Anyway, this was, some of you participated. You all, yeah. What was this? Do you remember?
It's the walk around Philly.
Anyone want to talk about it, or no pressure?
I mean, I can talk about it. Before, we always have a retreat, and so our junior year when we came back from COVID, we were like split up into 10 groups, and everyone was assigned a 10-mile part of the radius of Philadelphia, because the unique thing about Philly is it is exactly 100 miles in its perimeter and border. And so we were assigned very unique different parts of the city. I know I walked up on the Schuylkill Trail by Manayunk, and then through Wissahickon Forest and up to Chestnut Hill, so way on the north side of the city. But I also know some of my classmates who walked through a river, or different parts of very different parts of the city, and it was just to kind of gain a unique perspective about situating ourselves in Philadelphia. And it was not a lot of place that many of us are from. I know I'm from Wisconsin, so certainly nowhere near me. And just kind of situating ourselves with what Philly looks like actually when you're close up with it, and how different it can be from different places across the city.
Yeah. Any other? That was great. Any other things?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really top that. I don't really remember where we hiked at all. I think I do remember. I feel we had no phones, or there's something I feel something about lack of technology going on. Maybe. I'm not a hiker, but I decided to go, and I actually had such a fun time. And it's nice to just get away from Penn, which I think has. I mean, it's a very city school in a way, and so it's nice to be really removed from campus, and to be with 2 or 3 other fellows. And it's everybody from all the cohorts, I believe, and so you might be mixed with different people, and you basically just spend the day with them, hiking or walking through bodies of water, whatever. But it's cool. It was. I had a great time, and as someone who just doesn't really go in the wilderness a lot, I thought it was great.
And I will add, we were also for that assigned with different faculty members.
Yeah.
There are
Yeah.
tons of faculty members who are with the Paideia program, and so the faculty member I was assigned to is actually one of my current professors now. So it was just really cool that has like now made a nice little 360.
Yeah.
We've come full circle.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's right, which I think Elizabeth. I know Andrew wasn't there for that yet, but
I don't know. All I would say is I think I also had like some great conversations on that hike. Like I
Yeah.
think you'd be surprised how well you get to know someone when you're walking for 10 miles. Like through like I mean I was walking through Philly suburbs, so like but it like I think it was a really wonderful experience to like engage in like much deeper conversations with strangers than I think I'm accustomed to at Penn. So I think that part was just really really cool in terms of getting to know other people with like common ground, but also so many differences.
That's right. And Andrew, did you get to go to this year's
No.
retreat? Yeah, this year's retreat, did anyone? It was at the Liberty Museum. Did anyone get? You got to? Yeah.
Yeah, I was there. We went like down to Liberty Museum, which is like down far in Center City, very close to Liberty Bell, obviously, and we had a retreat with, once again, now we have 3 cohorts of fellows, and so it was just going through the different exhibits that they have there and kind of like what Liberty is, especially in Philly. That's like a huge part of the city's history, so that was like an experience talking about that. I didn't get to stay for the whole time, unfortunately, but that was the other retreat. So we've like done very, very different things.
That was like very physical heavy. The other one was more like thoughtful about walking through what is home, like exhibits. So great, wonderful. All right, so what do fellows do? And you heard about it here already, but you participate. So in your sophomore and your junior year, you participate in something called a pro seminar, which is a half-credit course. And if you have questions about how that works, I think we'll save them for the question and answer session. But in terms of your CUs, it's a half CU in the fall of your sophomore year, and then a half CU in the fall of your junior year. And you build a community among the cohort you're in, but we also try to bring other people. So some of our faculty, some of our campus partners, some people that do work nationally. We try to bring folks to the pro seminar. This is like our time with you. You also then enroll in 3 SNF Paideia courses. You've heard from the fellows about those, but you can do any 3 courses. So we have a roster of courses each semester. We try to have around 30 each school academic year, and you can enroll for any of those, but you need to just have 3 in order to get the signature on your transcript, the certificate. You also have a senior capstone project that you do, and that's within your major or your school. So if you have a senior design project, if you have a senior thesis, it's part of it. You just have a Paideia theme. You're not doing something separate. It's connected. And then you can do the optional funding that I talked about. Then we have all sorts of co-curricular opportunities where you can do things on your own, or we provide you different kinds of options. To go a little bit deeper on the sophomore and junior pro seminars, we have academic content and research connections. I think I've pretty much said this already, but we have 4 different pillars. So dialogue is the thing we're most interested in, but we also care about dialogue as it relates to citizenship, service, and wellness. So our readings, or kind of the junior pro seminar, you're not reading as much as you're engaging in your own field. So sophomore seminar, we're kind of all having a shared set of readings. Junior pro seminar, you're doing stuff in your own field a lot more. And how to apply. So this is like our last slide, and then I'm going to turn to our students for your questions. So we have 2 rounds of applications, and basically we're going to accept applications on the 30th and then again on the 27th. So you get to choose which round you want to do. And then you can apply at that link. We really want to have people within each cohort that are from each school. And we love a diversity of majors, a diversity of interests and experiences. In your application, you want to make sure you understand to the extent you can what Paideia's mission is and how you would fit into that. We should talk about your interests of dialogue, talk about how you care about wellness, citizenship, and service. And then think about how your academic goals here at Penn map onto those things, because we want to get to know you through that. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to turn to questions. Some of those are books that we use, or little readings from the pro seminar. But any questions you may have?
I think sometimes like a problem with dialogue is that it creates like echo chambers. So like, have you ever felt that way through the Paideia program? And if not, why not?
Good question.
I can go. I think that's a great question. Do you mean echo chambers like generally, or echo chambers within specifically the context of Paideia? Just to make sure.
Within the context.
I think yes and no. Like, I think on the one hand, if I'm being completely honest, I think, like, for example, I can only speak for my cohort, but my cohort is a group. I think, like, generally speaking, we probably have relatively similar, like, there's parts of diversity that we might not represent as a seminar group. So, for example, the majority of us are from the United States. The majority of us probably have similar political affiliations, that kind of stuff. And I think at times that can present challenges in terms of creating enough diversity of dialogue, because we don't necessarily have, like, the devil's advocate or the different voice in the room. I think that being said, I think, like, this past fall when we had our sophomore seminar, we had a lot of different speakers come in who spoke about their own individual work and their own individual research to try to give context for our capstone project. And it's in moments like those when we hear from experts that they're able to, because I think sometimes when you have more knowledge, more context, you're actually able to push back a little bit more and you prevent echo chambers. And I think the more knowledge that we all start to develop collectively, the more we're able to push back on that. And I think what is cool about the seminar is that even though at times we can have similar views, there at the same time is oftentimes like a really big openness to learning from each other and hearing different perspectives. So someone can say, well, hey, maybe like we aren't thinking about this, even though this isn't my own view. And that's usually something that's welcomed, and it's usually something that's like an opportunity for more challenge. So I think yes and no at the same time. It's a good question though.
Any other? That's great.
Yeah, so I would also, I actually agree. So I think that, there's only like 25 people, right? So there's, there will be like similarities. You can't have diversity in like all types of different discussions, issues, right? So, but I think like in Paideia, that's that openness that's like really important. Like we like to play devil's advocate a lot of times and like think about the other side. What would they think? And also I think the experts that come in, the guest speakers, they also really help kind of break that the echo chamber. Like, so I don't think it really is an issue. Like I think it really it does kind of, I mean, it does the whole part of Paideia, right, is to break that echo chamber, and I think it really does. It does work.
No. It's a great question. Start us off. Any other questions? All right. Explained it all.
So like when you're taking enrolling in those 3 Paideia courses, what's the time commitment like? So, like if you're already at your max credit units, like specifically for engineering, if you're already at your max credit units, and you have to like get a petition to like max it out more, what is that like?
So the Paideia courses, they can count for humanities, either humanities or social. So you have to take, for the graduation requirements. So that's what I did. Like, because I already have like a 4-year schedule, like to fit in. Like I had like a placement holder for like humanity or social science, and basically that's where I put in the Paideia.
Yeah, and we are trying for more engineering classes all the time, just so you know. And there is the engineering ethics class is taught by Professor Britt Shields. That's one that may get a student designation. So, there's ways that we're working with you, and we will work with folks, especially in the schools where there's not as many classes. We're working in Wharton, we're working on nursing. We got a lot from the college, but we'll keep working with college. But yeah, certain programs are harder than others.
And I do have to say, like, I know nursing is only my experience, but, like, the nursing school administration as well as Paideia, like, work together a lot to find the way to fit the program into what is already set, like, in our schedule. And I know, like, you guys have a very strict schedule you have to follow, so do we. But I found that, like, I've petitioned for classes before to count for different, like, gen ed requirements, and, like, a lot of the times those will go through. Like, I found that the schools are really, like, willing to work with you, especially because, like, this is... Like, I know for nursing especially, like, this is something that the nursing school also wants to have students in. Like, the engineering school, I'm sure, is the same, that this is something they want their students to be involved in, and so they'll really work with you to help, make sure that it can fit in to what, like, you already have to do.
Yes, and we have a faculty staff advisory board that has members from each school on the board. So we have Sonia Kwok from the engineering school. We have others from each school that give input and help make things work on your end. So, but what I tell the fellows all the time is that we are sending you all into the world to figure it out, and you figure out the problems because there's how many 60 majors in the college. There's no way we know the ins and outs of every one of the majors, but you all figure it out. So cognizant, we're learning. We're like, oh, you can't do that your senior year, great. And so part of the program is kind of exploring with us how to work it out. Any other questions or specific ones of what you heard? Oh yeah, one and then two.
For the sophomore year pro seminar, what was it like going into your first pro seminar sophomore fall? And what was the weekly time commitment like for you?
So yeah, there's just one day, like for me it's like Monday morning, 8:30.
It's so hard to find one that everyone can go to.
It's at Lauder College House. I live in Harnwell, so 8:30.
So
No,
early.
but I really enjoy it. It's actually a really great start of the week, because there's like really not much time commitment. There are readings that you have to prepare for the class, but there's not much. And there are some writing assignments, but it's also like I don't think there's not a lot of time commitment. But I think I really enjoy it because you get to talk with you meet your cohort and spend time with the cohort, and also the guest speakers. And it's really helpful, and I really like it. Yeah.
And I would say Dr. Howard and Dr. Anderson are very understanding. Like, you guys know that, sometimes we have, really, really busy weeks that an assignment might be due for Paideia on. And I think every time I've asked for an extension, I've gotten it. They're very understanding. So that, the time commitment piece of it, if that's in your head as, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to add it on, it's totally doable. And I think everyone would agree with me on that.
I think as a follow-up to that, I think something generally about the Paideia Fellows program is that, there's an effort to, explicitly integrate it with your field of study. It's not supposed to be an added burden onto what you're doing. It's supposed to, lift up, the quality of what you're doing, if that makes sense. So, I think the seminars program is kind of an example of that. It's an added opportunity every week for reflection, but it's also the kind of course where, if there's a course that you're going to be panicking about your grade, it's probably not going to be this one. It is work, and you do have to try, and you do have to be engaged, but it's not, Paideia is never going to be the thing out of, all the million things that you're going to be doing at Penn that is really going to be the one that's putting on the pressure. Instead, it's fully integrated with everything else you're doing.
So it's I do think that discussion and informal discussion at the two is very critical, but then I also think it's equally as important to kind of implement what you talk about in the real world. So how would you say Paideia has kind of helped you do both at the same time? Good question.
I think there's probably two distinct ways I can think of right now, and the first one would be funding. And so the funding is I think Paideia is also very generous of what your funding could be used for. And so it could be an independent project or something personal, or it could be used for your summer internship, or it could be used to go travel, or it could be used for a club. There's a million things. So I think in terms of a lot of times, from the courses that you take, you feel inspired to make change and to want to, I guess, make an impact. And funding is one very clear way you can make an impact. And I would say the second way would be the senior capstone project. That is something that I think you don't, we didn't start really thinking about what we wanted to do until our junior pro seminar. Which is good because you have 2 years to then think about what you want to do. But I think when you get to that stage and you're really having to ask a question of, okay, what's a problem that I'm passionate about solving that's kind of within my major and is still possible to do within a year's time span, I think it really does start forcing you to answer those questions, even if you don't think you're ready to answer them.
Anyway, any other good questions? They're great. Oh yeah.
For Andrew, as an engineer, how do you think the Paideia program has or will continue to make you a better engineer, like in the workplace or like post graduation, stuff like that?
Yeah, so I think it's that aspect of dialogue, right? So I think in the Penn's engineering program, it's actually, or at least for bioengineers, like really interesting because they have integrated an aspect of ethics in it. And so I think, but the problem is, right, like just teaching ethics, it's not really enough, right? It's like a lot of stuff that you talk about, oh, there's these ethical issues and blah, 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 right? But what are you going to do about it, right? You have to do something about it, and that's where dialogue comes in. And I think the Paideia like really helps you build the skills that's to have like effective dialogue with people, and like how you listen, how you interact with people, and how you get these issues talked about, like these breaking the barrier and actually talking about these difficult issues. And I think this is really so that's like the kind of side of things that for an engineer, at least a bioengineer, it's like really helpful. And I think this will help me like not just now but for the rest of my life, right? So
Well, great. So if we don't have any more questions, what I think we're going to do is we're going to end the formal part of the presentation, and then if you'd like to just stick around and talk to any of our fellows here, like one-on-one, it's another way to dialogue beyond formal dialogue. So we're just going to end here. Thank you all so much for coming, and thank you to our and please feel free to ask them questions or me questions. We'll just hang out and take cookies.